Hi, it's Mr. Milnarik here with an example of how you can map the Disney classic The Lion King to the major stages of the hero's journey. Now you should have received this chart from Mr. Vendetti. You're going to use it to track the stages of whatever movie you choose. Keep in mind that some of the stages might be out of order a bit depending on your movie. You'll see an example of that in this video. So let's get started with Simba's ordinary world. This is where the hero's regular life is and what is it like. So in this case, Simba lives in the Pride Lands and his dad is king. He is also the rightful heir to the throne, and there is balance in the Pride Lands. The Pride Lands is the area where they live. Now the call to adventure is what causes the hero to change his or her life. What is the problem? So in this case, it is when Mufasa dies, when Scar organizes the stampede that upsets Simba's regular life and it causes him to do something. So in the case of The Lion King, it is Scar starts a stampede and kills Mufasa. Now, in the case of The Lion King, meeting the mentor doesn't happen till later, so this is an example of when this might not be in order. Some people might argue that Rafiki, the old monkey, or Zazu, the bird, are the mentors, but the mentor actually has to teach Simba something. And at this stage in the journey, they don't actually teach him anything, and actually the bird is kind of annoying and he just flies around. So we'll come back to this later on. Now, crossing the threshold, also known as departure, is when does the hero leave his or her regular life. So in this case, it is when Scar is telling Simba that it was his fault that Mufasa died and he must leave the Pride Lands and never return. Threshold, remember, is like a doorway. So when he crosses the threshold, he is physically leaving the Pride Lands and he actually runs out into the desert, I believe. So we're going to say Simba flees the Pride Lands, and we can leave it at that for now. You might want to include a little bit more detail in your chart this weekend. So that brings us into Act 2, which is also known as entering the dark or the special world if you're looking at that hero's journey circle. And this is when the hero will start to meet their allies and enemies and they'll face some challenges. So on the chart, all you have to do is list allies and enemies. In this case, allies are his friends. So in this part of Simba's hero's journey, he meets his allies or friends, Timon and Pumbaa. In addition to being allies, they also serve as his mentors because they actually teach him something about jungle life. They teach him how to hunt for food, and they also teach him the Hakuna Matata lifestyle. So I'm going to put that down. We have Timon and Pumbaa, and I'm also going to list them as the mentor here as well, and I'm going to explain why. Because they teach him how to get food and live. Now, of course, Scar and the hyenas are clearly enemies, so we can list them here. Right? All right, now I'm going to flip the chart over, and we're going to get into the road of trials. All right, now we want 3 to 5 major conflicts or events. So as far as the road to trials go, these are simply the challenges the hero faces after he or she leaves the ordinary world. In this case, there's a few things going on. The first is that Scar and the hyenas have upset the balance of life in the Pride Lands and are forcing the lions to live side by side with the hyenas. Food is running out and the characters are actually beginning to starve. Now, meanwhile, in the jungle, Simba is living a carefree life with his friends. Even though he doesn't know it, he's ignoring his responsibility as becoming king of Pride Rock. Things get complicated further when Nala returns and they fall in love. So I'm going to kind of list some of those things here so that there is Scar and hyenas are starving the life in the Pride Lands. Simba is ignoring responsibility, and he falls in love with Nala. So he's living his carefree life in the jungle. Nala returns, they fall in love. But once that happens, Simba faces a new challenge. He must return to Pride Rock and claim his rightful place as king. Now, you could argue that this is a late refusal of the call, but usually that happens at the beginning of the adventure. So I'm going to write it as a conflict or a problem. So he doesn't want to return. So as you can see, that's a big part of the movie right there. So we enter the approach to the Innermost cave, which actually is not on your chart, but I'll just talk about it here. That is, cave is in parentheses on your hero's journey chart, because this isn't literally a cave most of the time, but it represents the hero's approach to his or her biggest challenge. So in this case, Simba must return to Pride Rock to face Scar. But that, again, that's not actually on your chart. The Supreme Ordeal is when Simba has his battle with Scar. It's very dramatic, of course, and the treasure is peace and safety in the Pride Lands. So I'm going to write down the Supreme Ordeal right now. Simba battles Scar. Okay. Now the treasure and the reward, that's also known as the prize, peace and safety in the Pride Lands. This is an example of an intangible reward, meaning you can't touch it. In some cases, a hero will receive a physical reward like a sword or an antidote, but sometimes it's something like peace or safety. So keep in mind the reward should benefit others. So the treasure or reward is peace and safety in the Pride Lands. And I'm just going to circle that is intangible. Okay. So our movie ends with Simba in his rightful place as king with Nala at his side. In true hero's journey fashion, the story ends where it began, right? In the ordinary world. It's back in the Pride Lands. Only now Simba has shown a lot of personal growth and he stepped up to his rightful place as king. So, Simba and Nala have a child and peacefully rule the Pride Lands. So hopefully this helps you with your assignment this weekend. Have fun exploring how this classic pattern applies to your favorite books and movies.